Cullen Finnerty entered the world on August 18, 1982, in Southfield, Michigan, a bustling city with a population exceeding 76,000. He was the cherished son of Timothy Francis Finnerty, known affectionately as Tim, and his wife, Maureen Finnerty. Alongside his father, Cullen shared his childhood with three siblings, Timothy Jr., Brendan, and Courtney. At the tender age of 5, the family relocated to the city of Brighton, another Michigan town, where Cullen's vibrant spirit began to shine. With a modest population of just over 7,000, Brighton became the backdrop for Cullen's energetic childhood. His family often spoke of his early passion for sports, a fervor ignited from a young age. One of Cullen's brothers, 3 years his senior, vividly recalled the moment he first witnessed Cullen on the football field, recognizing instantly that his brother was destined for greatness. Cullen attended Brighton High School, where his athletic prowess quickly became apparent. He emerged as a football standout, ultimately earning the title of Livingston County Player of the Year during his senior year. With high school behind him, Cullen took his talents to the University of Toledo in Ohio. However, despite his commitment to football, he felt an unsettling lack of direction, leading him to leave the university after just 1 year. During this transitional period, Cullen's older brother, Timothy Jr., was pursuing an art education in Grand Rapids. He keenly observed a promising football program at Grand Valley State University in Allendale. With the top quarterback, Kurt Ames, on the verge of graduation, Tim Jr. seized an opportunity. He gathered a highlight film showcasing Cullen's talent and made the drive to campus, placing it directly on the coach's desk. Brian Kelly, the head coach, was captivated by the footage and extended an offer for Cullen to join the team. This pivotal moment marked the beginning of Cullen's professional aspirations. In his inaugural year at Grand Valley State, Cullen served as a backup to Kurt Ames. But with Kurt's departure, Cullen seized the opportunity to step into the role of starting quarterback. He quickly made his mark, showcasing remarkable skills on the field. Standing at 6 feet 3 inches and weighing 235 pounds, Cullen secured multiple titles throughout the season. Those who knew him described Cullen as an ordinary guy off the field, but on the gridiron, he transformed into a formidable force, reminiscent of Superman emerging from a phone booth. In 2007, Cullen signed with the Baltimore Ravens, initially spending the majority of the season on the practice squad. However, by the season's end, he had claimed a starting position. The following year saw him briefly don the colors of the Denver Broncos, before his journey took him overseas to play in Austria, and later back to Muskegon, Michigan. Ultimately, Cullen's football career came to a close in 2009. During his first year at Grand Valley State University, Cullen was a backup to Kurt Ames, who was poised to become a senior. Following Kurt's departure, Cullen stepped into the role of starting quarterback. He quickly showcased his remarkable skills in games. Standing at 6 feet 3 inches and weighing 235 pounds, Cullen secured several titles throughout that season. Those who knew him well remarked that off the field, Cullen Finnerty was an ordinary individual. But on the football field, he transformed into something extraordinary. He resembled Superman, akin to Clark Kent emerging from a phone booth. In 2007, Cullen signed with the Baltimore Ravens, where he spent the majority of the season on the practice squad. Yet as the season drew to a close, Cullen Finnerty's football journey was marked by both triumph and turmoil. After becoming a starter, he briefly played for the Denver Broncos and then ventured overseas, playing a season in Austria before returning to Muskegon, Michigan. Yet by 2009, his football career had come to an unexpected halt. In the aftermath of his athletic career, Cullen shifted his focus toward his personal life. During this transitional phase, he entered a relationship with Jennifer, a woman he would marry in 2010. Together, they welcomed 2 children into their lives. Their son, Caden, and daughter, McKinley, filled their home in Howell, Michigan, with joy. Cullen found stability in his work, selling orthopedic medical devices. Yet, beneath the surface of this seemingly idyllic family life, Cullen was grappling with dark challenges. His struggle with opioid addiction loomed large, a consequence of a back injury that had likely stemmed from his time spent weightlifting. Although he contemplated undergoing back surgery to alleviate his pain, the lengthy recovery period weighed heavily on his mind, especially with two young daughters to care for. Ultimately, he opted against the surgery. However, the addiction continued to plague him, leading to a stint in rehab in 2011. Cullen experienced initial success, showing marked improvement during his brief stay, but the shadow of relapse soon returned. From that point, Cullen found himself on a precarious seesaw, oscillating between sobriety and the grip of his addiction. The consequences were dire, manifesting in terrifying episodes of disorientation and paranoia, an ominous prelude to a tragic fate. In 2012, during a gathering with friends in Detroit, Cullen dialed his brother, Timothy Jr. The frantic tone of Cullen's voice sent chills down Tim's spine as Cullen claimed he was being pursued by an unseen threat. Such episodes became increasingly frequent, culminating in May 2013, when the worst fears materialized. Just a week prior, the family had celebrated Brendan's new role as the godfather of Cullen's daughter, an occasion that should have been filled with joy. At that point, McKinley was only a few months old. The brothers, in a rare moment of camaraderie, spent time playing darts in the basement. As midnight approached, Cullen, in a seemingly normal state, decided to take his inflatable boat for a ride on the nearby lake. On that day, he displayed no behavior that would foreshadow the impending tragedy. The following weekend, with Memorial Day on the horizon, the Finnerty family prepared for a holiday gathering at a cabin owned by Jennifer's parents, nestled in the serene Bray Creek State Forest. This picturesque location, known for its fishing and outdoor activities, seemed like the perfect getaway. However, beneath the tranquility lay the brewing storm of Cullen's inner turmoil, a conflict that would soon erupt into chaos. As the family gathered in northwest Michigan, about 65 miles from Grand Rapids, the dark undercurrents of Cullen's struggles threatened to overshadow the holiday spirit. Little did they know, the events that would unfold would change their lives forever. The day began like any other, filled with the promise of adventure. Hiking and camping, the family embraced the serenity of nature, reveling in what seemed to be the perfect weekend. It was May 25th, 2013, a Saturday that would soon take a dark turn. Cullen Finnerty was determined to savor every moment with his loved ones. He stayed up late the night before, soaking in the joy of family until exhaustion finally caught up with him. The following morning, May 26th, Cullen woke early. He prepared a bottle for his daughter, lovingly fed her, and then ventured out for a morning of fishing. Reports indicate Cullen returned just before lunch, seemingly content. After enjoying a meal, Cullen indulged in a few beers before succumbing to a nap. When he awoke around 5 p.m., he opted for coffee but skipped dinner, opting instead for one last fishing excursion that evening. As the sun dipped lower, Cullen informed his wife of his plans. He donned his vest, gathered his fishing gear, and set off toward the river. Accompanied by his father-in-law and brother-in-law, they carried an inflatable boat and equipment, laughter echoing in the evening air. It was nearly 9 p.m. when Cullen and the men parted ways by the riverbank. They agreed to reconvene an hour later at a designated spot, unaware that this would be the last time they would see him. As the night unfolded, Cullen's father-in-law and brother-in-law arrived at the meeting point but found the area empty. Initially, they dismissed their concerns, believing Cullen had simply lingered at a promising fishing spot. Then, at around 10:30 p.m., Cullen's voice broke through the silence. In a frantic call to Jennifer, he revealed that two unknown men were pursuing him. Fear gripped his words, and the call ended abruptly after a mere 20 seconds. Jennifer's heart raced as she attempted to call Cullen back, but there was no answer. Desperation set in, prompting her to reach out to her father and brother, who were a few miles away from the cabin. She relayed the unsettling news, and without hesitation, they rushed to the location where they had last seen Cullen. However, upon arrival, they found only his boat resting on the riverbank, an ominous sign of what was to come. The men scoured the area, calling out for Cullen, but their voices echoed back in eerie silence. They checked the inflatable boat, searching for any clues that might indicate Cullen's whereabouts. But their hopes began to wane. Yet, at the cabin, everything had seemed normal just hours earlier. The family had gathered, blissfully unaware that their cherished weekend would soon descend into chaos. Upon their arrival at the cabin, panic struck as they realized Cullen was missing. Jennifer's frantic demeanor heightened the tension, and just moments later, her brother's phone rang. Cullen was on the line. In a chilling confession, Cullen revealed his dire situation. He had fled into the depths of the forest, attempting to evade the men who were chasing him, but he was lost, disoriented, and terrified. As he spoke, Cullen's voice trembled with urgency. He conveyed the escalating danger he faced, hinting at the complicated circumstances threatening his escape. The call ended abruptly, leaving a haunting silence in its wake. Jennifer and her brother listened intently, hearing Cullen's frantic voice questioning the men chasing him. In that moment, Jennifer could hear the sounds of gravel crunching beneath his feet, as if he were running for his life. As the call ended, Jennifer, panicked and desperate, attempted to reach her husband multiple times, but each call went unanswered. In her frustration, she sent him a message, urging him to stay put. Determined to find Cullen, Jennifer and her brother departed the cabin, heading toward the area where they believed he might be. They searched tirelessly, but their efforts yielded no results. As night fell, they reluctantly decided to return to the cabin. The authorities were notified, and soon after, an extensive search for Cullen began. The following morning, Tim Sr. reached out to his other son. Timothy Jr. was stunned when his father informed him that Cullen was missing. He recounted that, around the time of Cullen's disappearance, he had experienced a strange sensation, an unsettling premonition that something was terribly wrong. Timothy Francis Finnerty, known as Tim Sr., and his son Timothy Jr., ventured to the last known location of Cullen Finnerty. They joined the growing efforts of county authorities, already engaged in the search. Soon after, state police arrived to bolster the search operations. The search intensified as officers scoured the nearby streams and rivers, meticulously checking every point along the banks. Above them, helicopters buzzed through the dense forest canopy. In a significant yet disappointing development, the police discovered a vest, but Cullen's family quickly identified it as not belonging to him at the time of his disappearance. Their perseverance paid off when footprints emerged 3 kilometers north of the spot where Cullen had last been seen, left by his father-in-law and brother-in-law. Tracking Cullen's phone led investigators to perplexing results. The signals suggested locations far from where he had last been seen, pointing nearly 5 kilometers to the south and then 8 kilometers to the north, an impossible feat for someone on foot. Given that Cullen was walking and alone, the vast distances indicated by the phone were inconceivable within such a tight time frame. As news of his disappearance spread, local residents rallied, offering their time and resources to aid in the search. Cullen's friends from school and college joined the growing crowd, all determined to contribute to the efforts to find him. The number of volunteers swelled to such an extent that authorities had to turn some away, as their presence was inadvertently complicating the police's organized search efforts. The police required clear areas for search dogs and helicopters to operate effectively. Meanwhile, the story gained traction in the media, drawing more attention and volunteers to the scene. As time passed, the press began to circulate the story through various outlets, leading to an influx of helpers. Tents were erected to provide food and water, responding to the overwhelming need of those involved. Amid this chaotic scene, a multitude of theories regarding Cullen's fate began to surface. One chilling suggestion implied he had inadvertently stumbled upon a criminal's hideout, with the implication that he may not have been allowed to leave alive to prevent being reported. Others speculated more fantastically, proposing the possibility of extraterrestrial abduction. However, the prevailing belief was far more mundane. Cullen had likely lost his way in the vast forest and succumbed to the elements after his phone battery died. Less than 48 hours after his disappearance, the search yielded a grim discovery. Cullen's body was located in a clearing on private land adjacent to the forest, nearly 2 kilometers from where his boat had been left. He lay face down, devoid of visible injuries. The authorities swiftly arranged for an autopsy. Upon examination, the coroner found no signs of trauma or injuries on Cullen's body. A heart attack was ruled out, and the toxicology report returned negative, leaving investigators searching for answers regarding the cause of death. Ultimately, it was determined that Cullen had died from pneumonia resulting from inhaling vomit. This tragic condition was exacerbated by the presence of oxycodone in his system and the fact that he had chronic traumatic encephalopathy, or CTE. His brain would later be studied at the Boston University CTE Center, where the diagnosis of CTE was confirmed. Chronic traumatic encephalopathy is a progressive neurodegenerative disease, often linked to repeated head impacts common in high-contact sports, such as boxing and mixed martial arts. Chronic traumatic encephalopathy, known as CTE, is a devastating neurodegenerative disease born from the relentless toll of repeated head impacts. This insidious condition often afflicts athletes engaged in high-impact sports, including boxing and mixed martial arts. Research indicates that American football players are particularly susceptible to developing chronic traumatic encephalopathy, or CTE, due to the relentless impacts to the head they endure. In a troubling revelation, it was reported that 345 NFL players have succumbed to deaths linked to CTE in just recent years. Following the tragic incident, Cullen Finnerty's family publicly acknowledged his battle with opioid addiction, a struggle that culminated in several months of hospitalization. They revealed the disturbing episodes he experienced, marked by hallucinations and paranoia, as documented in Cullen's medical history. Authorities ultimately determined that Cullen's death was yet another tragic outcome of these hallucinations and paranoid episodes. In the aftermath, his wife, Jennifer Finnerty, took a decisive step and filed a lawsuit against the NCAA. Jennifer joined forces with 3 other families of deceased college football players, all of whom contended that concussions were a significant factor in the premature deaths of their loved ones. However, Cullen's family was taken aback by this lawsuit and opted not to participate. Tim, Cullen's brother, expressed their disbelief, stating they did not think concussions were the cause of his death. Tim Jr. pointed out that Cullen had only been diagnosed with a concussion during his college years, insisting that the coaches and medical staff at Grand Valley had provided appropriate care. Tragically, the lawsuit created rifts within the family, adding to their grief. Cullen's funeral took place on June 3, 2013, drawing hundreds of mourners, including family, friends, and former classmates. In a posthumous honor, Cullen Finnerty was inducted into the Michigan Sports Hall of Fame in 2018.